Alright, so we're back. I've learned a little bit on how to video edit, so hopefully this will be a little bit better presentation later on. So even though I'm a new guy from in terms of creating these customized toys and everything, I do have a little bit of background in sculpting, molding, and casting. I learned it about maybe 20 years ago. I went to college for it and all that stuff, so it was the cutting and using styrene and all that stuff that I wasn't sure of. I've done some model making too, again about 30 years ago. It was easy for me. I never liked the finishing part because I never liked getting rid of the seams and all that stuff in the painting, but you know. And from there on I stopped, and then I went to sculpting. That was a little bit better control. Anyway, I'm saying that because now I'm going to show you a few things that I need to do in order to progress in the his tank to make it look a little bit better. Here's the barrel from the tank that it was originally formed from, and I realized I was going to use this to put on the his tank. So what I'm going to do, this is not the best way to do it, is I'm gonna use this. They're not a sponsor, but I've always used Smooth On. It's really easy because it's a 1-to-1 ratio when you're creating molds. So you basically have equal parts of each. It's a rubber. I've had this for like 3 years, and I checked on it. It still looks good. Hopefully it's gonna work well. Anyway, so there are proper ways of molding and casting. What I'm gonna do is not the proper way of doing things, but since I know I'm used to it, I know what I'm gonna do. First thing we're gonna do is we're gonna spray paint this with a mold release so that this will not stick to this. Okay. Usually what you'll do is you'll create a clay base here so you can mold the first half. Once that's molded with this, let it dry, put in plaster as the mother mold, flip it over, take off the clay part here, spray paint another mold release so that the second part won't stick to the first part. Put in the first part, second part of this, put another plaster mold, and that's how you make your first mold. There's videos on YouTube that does it much better than I will. I'm not going to do that. What I'm going to do is I'm going to mix. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to mix these two up for a certain amount. I'm going to create a long slab of mold or cast rubber, which I will then use as keys. Keys are, I'll show it to you more, but I'm just going to explain the procedure to you. What I'll do then is I'll create another batch, which I'll brush on this as one piece, right? Once this is properly coated, I'll let it dry. Once it's dry, I'm going to use those keys that I make. I'll stick it like 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Let that dry. Once that's dry, I'm going to create the mother mold plaster, and in case do one half mold release, another half here. Once that's dry, I'll put it apart, and then the rubber part, the rubber mold, I will then cut along the seam here. And that's basically gonna be and then I'll put that in the mother mold. I'm probably not explaining that well, but you'll see. I'll show it to you some more. This is the Smooth On brush on mold rubber. I tried brushing it on first. I was gonna brush it and then create a mother mold of plaster and then cut it. That didn't work because it was too liquidy. So I created this really quick mother mold, and then this I created a very small channel because I didn't want to use too much of this material. It's too expensive. These are going to be the keys. I made a cast really quick. So once I started pouring the rubber mold while it was still wet, I put this on, and because I did not put any kind of release mold release spray, it's basically becomes part of the one that I just poured. It will stick to it. Anyway, so the next thing I'm going to do, so I only did it halfway. So the next thing I'm going to do, because otherwise it will overflow and I can't brush it on, it will just like pour out. Anyway, so the next thing I'm going to do, notice this is plastic. It's because I didn't want it to stick. So I'm going to pull this out with the plastic. I'm going to turn it over. I'm going to reuse this mold again, and I'm going to flip it over, and let's see, what am I going to do? I'm going to put another layer of plastic in again, and then I'm going to put this mold in there, and I'm going to flip this over, and I'm going to wink, put it in. What it's going to do is going to kind of like when you're putting something into water, the water basically fills it up, you know. So anyway, once that's done, I'm gonna pull it out of this oil clay mold, and I'm gonna cast it in plaster, a 2-part mother mold. Once that's dry, I'm gonna pull that out. This whole thing should be one piece. I'm gonna cut it along the seams here, and that will create a 2-part piece. And this will become the keys for it, so it will stick to the plaster and it won't warp or anything like that. Anyway, just wanted to show you guys. I'll show you the final mold if it works, and then I'll cast 2 of these in resin. I already bought the resin, which I will then use for the new his tank. Alright, so here's the part where I show you how the cannon is now fully encased in the mold cast, or the mold. I am now going to make a mother mold made out of plaster for it. I'll basically create a square box. I'll put this in there, pull plaster until it's halfway done. I'll soap the surface, and then I'll pour the top part to fill it up. These are I've kind of trimmed it down so it looks a little bit cleaner. You don't want anything where the plaster will hold on to and make it hard, so or like when you put it back in, it won't fit properly, so you want it as smooth as possible. I don't throw this away. I'll just cut it in small pieces, and then when I'm making another mold, I'll drop it in there to fill it up. The mold will basically flow around it. It'll save you some mold material, you know. So it's, as long as you didn't spray this with a release mold, it should still be fine, or release spray, and the new mold material will just stick to it. Just a little bit of trick.